All right, this is Mike Cosgrove with Pro Concepts. Name of the insurance agency is Professional Concepts Insurance Agency, and my direct phone number is 810-224-5255. I had to think about my number there for a minute. I'm like, what's my number? So I've got a great guest that I spend a lot of time with every week, Mike Chetkowski.
Close enough.
Is that close enough?
Like Chetkowski.
I even wrote it down on my paper phonetically. I've only known you almost a decade, so you'd think I'd have this down straight. But Mike actually goes by Chaz, although not by choice, I understand. But it started in 10th grade, you said?
Yeah, it was just a difficult name for a coach to say, and he said my name is Chez now, and it's kind of stuck. And half of the people I know call me Mike, and the other half call me Chez.
Could be worse.
It could be much worse. Yes.
Could be a lot worse. Well, thank you for coming, Mike.
Of course. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So the reason Mike and I spend a lot of time together each week is that I've worked with Mike close to 10 years now, I think close to a decade, from a training standpoint. So Mike is a personal trainer and oversees different areas at a very cool facility called Legacy. So maybe tell us a little bit about Legacy and the background behind it.
Yeah, so the Legacy Center in Brighton, Michigan is a large recreation center, sports complex. It's been here. We just had our 10th anniversary. I've been there since before it opened, even through some of the designing of it and everything. So we offer a wide range of recreational activities, sports from basketball, volleyball, soccer, baseball. But where I do most of my work is in the fitness area. So I do personal training and nutrition consulting and just sports performance as well.
Sure, absolutely. So this is in Brighton, Michigan. And today what we're going to talk about is the 5 pillars of optimal health. And so Mike's going to go through the 5 pillars with us. And so for the insurance agency, we deal with all professional service type people, being architectural firms, engineering firms, CPAs, lawyers, real estate, technology type firms, but all professional services. And so Mike's got some very valuable information he's going to share with us on what we should all be considering and what we should all be doing to keep this machine, I'll call it. Each of us have our own meat machine, right, to keep it healthy and optimal at times. But so going back to Legacy as a moment. So it's the big dome in Brighton, off of Highway 23 that runs north and south between Ann Arbor and Brighton. And it's off, what's the exit?
It's a Silver Lake exit.
Silver Lake exit, yes. So I train there with Mike Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I've done that very religiously, unless I'm out of town for something, for close to a decade now. So it's a fantastic facility. I may have severed my Achilles tendon in the dome playing soccer back in the day.
This was before we trained together.
Right.
So,
yeah. So real quick, just a funny story about that. I'll never forget. It was the first co-ed soccer game, Friday night, 9:00. I get there. One of my buddies is there. My wife walks in. My kids are with me. They're sitting in the bleachers. My buddy's over there stretching. And I'm like, what are you doing? Thinking like, why are you stretching? And now at 47, I know why he was stretching. But 9 years ago, I was like, what are you doing stretching? Obviously, I did not stretch very much. And so then halfway through the game, Mike goes down like a ton of bricks. One of my other buddies, his wife was on the team, who was sitting in the bleachers. He then comes over and he goes, "Did you see that gal take you out?" Because I completely hit the ground and couldn't understand why my leg was not working any longer. So, but anyways.
Yeah, that's I'm glad you think that's a funny story. I do as well, but I would not wish that upon anybody. And so some of the things we're talking about today, hopefully can prevent that, or any other ailment that people may come across. Yeah.
So one thing I always ask everybody, what's your favorite book you've read?
So seeing you as often as I do, and knowing that this question was coming, I actually thought about it quite a bit. And in the end, my favorite is actually a collection of books.
Okay.
And it's the Bible.
Okay. I had a feeling this is what you were going to say, because we've talked a lot about this.
And so, to me, one of the pillars that we'll get into. One of the pillars later being, a faith. But to me, there's nothing more important than living my life like pointing towards Jesus.
Sure.
When you get past that, there's a book called The Rain Barrel Effect.
Mm-hmm.
When you look into actual health, it really covers even more than what we're going to talk about today at a very deep level. And then lastly, as I was thinking about this, I actually came across a quote, and that's kind of what I think will lead us into our conversation today. And that's it's been used plenty of times, but it's credited back to Confucius.
Okay.
And it's very simple, but it's that a healthy man has 1,000 wishes, but a sick man has only one.
Sure.
And, I've talked to my wife a lot over the years, basically saying that I would love to write a book. I don't know about the actual process, but conceptually,
sure,
right? Is that so many things in this world are simple, but they're not easy.
Right.
Right. And so as we talk today, I like to break things into categories or pillars of health. And I think that if we can get people to understand that it's not super complicated and that we can bridge from that really complicated, side of things over to a more simple approach to health, more people would walk around feeling better,
right,
and just being able to achieve those wishes or dreams that they have. But so many people are unable to do that because they feel terrible.
Yeah. Right. And it's a vicious cycle.
Right.
Right. So awesome. Well, I had just a sneaking suspicion you were going to talk about the Bible, and I think that's great. So, cause we talk about that, here and there as well. And then, I think, that quote was actually, or that was written on one of the boards. Maybe it's still written on one of the boards there in the gym. So,
yeah. I think I wrote that.
You probably did.
Yeah. Let me know.
All right. So give us our first pillar. What's our first pillar of optimal health?
The first pillar, and I will preface this by saying that everything that we talk about, there's going to be some details and some nuances. It's not just as simple as the category name. Okay. And there will be some crossover, sure, obviously, but the first pillar is movement. Mm-hmm. Okay. So having some form of exercise. All right. You and I obviously enjoy weight training.
Sure.
Right. I believe wholeheartedly that that's one of the best things that you can do for health long term.
Especially as we get older, right?
Absolutely. To maintain muscle mass, to maintain bone density, to just maintain our ability to get through the day, doing basic tasks. So that being said, if yoga is your thing, awesome.
Sure.
If it's, cardiovascular work, just walking, some sort of movement practice needs to happen, because our bodies were not meant to sit.
Sure.
And this world has changed things around to where we sit all day in a lot of situations. So movement would be the first one. And, I would argue maybe the most important.
Sure. So talking about weight training here for a moment. So as we get older, I know that this is so important for males and females. Of course, my wife will always say, but I don't want to get bulky. And I'm like, you're not going to get bulky by lifting weights.
No, I always tell people, you get that objection sometimes from women, but I've always said, like, if I start working with a woman and she gets bulky overnight or inside of a month, I will gladly share the profits of whatever we were doing with her, because it takes a lot of time. I mean,
sure.
We lift on a regular basis, and I don't think either one of us are mistaken for professional bodybuilders, but
right,
we have more muscle mass than the average person. We have the
sure,
ability to do the things that we want to do. So yeah, I mean, men and women, and the groups that I work with at Legacy doing weight training, it's about 75% women. So we get a lot, sure, of women coming through doing strength training, and it's great, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's actually, let's talk about that for a quick minute. So
okay,
talk about someone joining Legacy, what that means in your world. Now, obviously Legacy has all kinds of sports for the kids and all different age groups and adults too, but specifically in your space, Mike, what would be someone new that was perhaps looking for an environment like Legacy? What would you provide?
Right. So, obviously we offer personal training. That's how Mike and I know each other. So that's sort of a one-on-one situation where we do very personalized strength training program for what you want to accomplish. We also have weight training groups. We call them Legacy Fit. And it's primarily strength training with a little bit of cardiovascular work involved.
It's like circuits to some degree.
To some degree. The actual Legacy Fit training is more of a group personal training situation. Okay. So I'll set up a program kind of for, the masses essentially.
Sure.
And then we can make modifications. There's usually 2 or 3 trainers on the floor helping out to make modifications. If somebody has a knee injury or anything like that, we can make modifications. It's more self-paced than what the average group training class may be.
Sure.
Now we also run groups called training camp.
Okay.
That's a little bit more of that, what you would think of with the traditional group fitness training situation. It's a little bit more fast paced, based off of time. You run through circuits. Everybody's doing the same thing at the same time. But both of those are options. And we've found that they supplement each other really well.
Sure.
They complement each other well. And some people really love the high energy, loud music, everybody moving at the same time. And some people just want to kind of be told what to do and have some guidance and come in there. And so we try and offer a little bit of both.
Nice. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Well, and I've always said, I think at Legacy, it's a cool family. I mean, everybody knows everybody. Everybody's very welcoming to new folks that are joining. I feel like even as of late, we've had a lot of new folks
Absolutely.
coming in there, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, if you're looking in this area, fantastic facility. So we got through pillar number 1. That's movement.
Pillar 1, movement. The second one is nutrition. We could do 10 podcasts just on nutrition. All right. But I do like the saying that the best diet is the one that you're going to stick to. There are people that have been successful eating high protein, low carbohydrate diets with high fat. There have been people that have done the exact opposite that are successful. There are vegans that are healthy. There are people that eat a carnivore style diet.
Sure.
Ultimately, you need to stick with something, okay, that you are able to do long term.
Yeah.
Right now, is there a time and a place for a short detox protocol or something a little more intense? Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay, but to sustain something long term, that's going to be the most important thing, trying to figure out what that is. And so we do a lot of nutritional coaching to try and help people figure out what that is.
Okay.
I'm always going to go the route of real whole foods. We say single ingredient foods.
Right.
And people are, saying, well, what do you mean I can't mix foods? No, just mix single ingredient foods together.
Exactly.
We're eating meats and vegetables and fruits and nuts and things like that, and trying to minimize extra sugars, extra hydrogenated fats, things like that. So nutrition is a very, very long, big topic.
Sure.
But if you pay attention to what you eat on a regular basis, you're going to be ahead of the game from most people. So many people just see food, eat food.
Sure. Right.
And going back to that simple, not easy thing, like eating healthy food is not difficult.
Right.
It's difficult because unhealthy, highly processed, super palatable foods exist.
And it's readily available sometimes.
Absolutely everywhere.
Whereas the other side, the healthy 1 ingredient foods, you got to do a little bit more planning sometimes.
Yeah. And you just have to exercise that willpower.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So nutrition.
Nutrition number 2.
Awesome. You want to talk to anything about protein shakes or anything like that? Like, I'm a big protein shake guy because I can't get enough protein during the day. I don't feel like
it can be tough. You absolutely, what I have found is that if you aren't conscious of it,
mm-hmm.
you're not conscious of how much you should be consuming, people will undereat their protein.
Sure.
And they will overeat their fats and carbs.
Yeah.
And so whether that's, supplementing with a protein shake, there's nothing magical about them.
Yeah.
But it is a whole food product put into supplement form.
Sure.
Okay. It's just derived from an animal protein. So, I still consider it, as long as it doesn't have a whole bunch of extra stuff in it.
Right.
More of a whole food type of thing.
Okay.
But should we base our diet around that? No.
Right.
But it's a good supplement. I mean, it's right in the name,
sure.
right? And so, that's a really good way to get that protein number up, which again, the crossover, if you're going to be doing strength training or any type of movement, you got to make sure that your muscles have what they need to recover.
Sure. And the protein does that, right?
Will absolutely do that. That's the foundation to be able to build not only muscle, but, other connective tissues and skin and hair and nails and all those things.
Sure. So how about, because over the years I've done a lot of these, you've done a lot of these, but how about the intermittent fasting? I'll talk to that for just a quick minute.
Yeah. A lot of different, amounts of research on that. I think the term it's overused at this point, just like anything else.
Sure.
Right? Everything in the fitness industry I've found has some level of truth to it. But when you get to intermittent fasting, I think if you can go about half your day without eating, right, every 24-hour period, most people are going to do pretty well with that.
Sure.
Okay. Now, so you finish eating at 7 o'clock at night and you don't eat again till 7 in the morning. That's 12 hours. That's half your day.
Sure.
Okay. That's a really good starting point for most people.
Don't you think most people eat more at night than they should?
Absolutely. We eat more when we're tired, stressed, and hungry, or tired and stressed.
Sure.
And thirsty. That was the other one. So tired, stressed, and thirsty, well, we go get food.
Sure.
Right. And that happens at the end of the day. We've made a ton of decisions. We've dealt with the kids. We've dealt with work, everything.
Right.
The stress of doing a podcast, whatever it is. Right. And by the time you get to the end of the day, you might have made a good decision at lunch because you were still fresh.
Sure.
But you get to 9 o'clock at night and you just want something, and rarely do you crave steak and broccoli. Right.
The Pringles are calling your name.
Yeah. So I've never told him this, but you could just not buy them.
Right.
I'm just an option.
You may have said this, and I think I've told you that, my wife goes to Costco and she brings not only a can of Pringles, she buys the whole case. I'm like, who's eating all these Pringles?
Well, you are. You're bulking. So sorry, Allison.
That's dirty bulking.
Yeah, exactly.
Too funny. All right. So nutrition was number 2. How about the third pillar?
Stress management.
Oh, good one. Okay.
Yeah, I thought so. This is a tricky one, right? It's really hard to balance everything that we're asked to do.
Sure.
Right? Everybody is busy at work. Everybody is busy with kids' sports or whatever it is.
Right.
And so finding a way to be able to manage your stress in a healthy way goes a long way. Okay. Yeah. Because your body can't recover.
Sure.
Okay. Your body is going to crave unhealthy food when you're stressed.
Okay.
It's not going to recover the way that it would if you're relaxed. For me personally, I try to go for a walk as a stress reliever, right? Like I enjoy working out. Not everybody enjoys doing that. Not everybody enjoys lifting weights, but I have found that most people, if they at least go for a walk and get some blood flow, and that stress can at least, come down a little bit.
Dissipate a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. And so as we know, there are healthy ways of managing stress and unhealthy ways. And I'm not here to tell anybody what the best way is.
Sure.
That's one of the things that we do on our training and coaching is just trying to help people figure out strategies for those things. But I think being aware of the fact that we're stressed, because so many people walk through the day and, you see tension in the neck and you see tension in the low back, and it's because you're stressed. It's because you have all of these things on your plate and you have no good way of dealing with it.
Yeah.
You sat up a little straighter there, didn't you?
I was just going to, as you said it, like instantly my right shoulder went down. I'm like, am I sitting straight in the chair?
Posture is king.
Exactly. Is my neck back over my shoulders like it's supposed to?
We know you're listening, Amy.
Too funny. All right. So that's the first 3. How about the,
that is the first 3.
How about our fourth one? Or was there more on 3 that you want to talk about?
Again, we could talk about all of these for hours, but no, I think that's good. And the next one, is kind of plays along with it, but it's rest and recovery. Okay. And so, if you're just looking at the average person goes through a day, not doing any super hard physical manual labor or weight training, we're talking a little bit more about the sleep piece of it.
Sure.
Okay. Sleep is important for everybody, but just the average person, everybody should really be getting between 7 and 9 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
And that is really hard.
It's extremely difficult.
Because then on the other side of it, we've talked about this plenty of times. It's that balance of like, well, Mike needs to lift at 5 or 5:30 in the morning.
Sure.
Well, you got to go to bed pretty early to be up at the gym. And so it's balancing out the benefits of strength training versus the benefits of that sleep.
Right.
Right. And there's not a right answer all the time. Right. Sometimes you should get up and lift, and some days you probably need an extra hour of sleep.
Yeah.
And then when you look at, more of the recovery from weight training, okay, it's a combination of things, but it's making sure that you have a program that makes sense for the week.
Sure.
Right. I know that you're doing something 5 or 6 days a week, but you're not bench pressing 6 days a week.
Right.
You're not squatting 6 days a week. You're not doing the same thing over and over because you have to allow your body time to recover. And one of the things that I think a lot of people probably inherently know is that you don't build muscle when you're in the gym. You actually break down muscle, but you recover.
Sure.
When you build muscle when you recover.
And you recover based on the fuel.
Yes, a combination of fuel, but also rest.
Sure.
Right.
Rest.
It's really hard for your body to do all of the processes that it needs to do while it's awake.
Sure.
And build muscle. But when you're asleep, your body can repair. It can get rid of the stuff that it doesn't want, and it can build and get stronger. And so it's really important that we're getting those 7 to 9 hours as often as possible, because otherwise you're really just continuously breaking down.
Sure.
Right. And I don't want somebody to hear this and say, well, there's absolutely no way that I can get that sleep and eat well and do all these things, and find time to lift weights. Okay. Let's talk about it, right? Let's look at the things that you do through a day and figure out where you could fit something in.
Right.
Because you don't need to find 90 minutes to work out.
Right.
You need to do more than what you've been doing.
Sure.
And that goes a long way.
Well, and I think, when people really start looking at, if you were to say to someone, write down everything you're doing in a day, they might be rather surprised how much disposable time that they've got, that they're, I don't know, looking at social media, doing things that really, aren't ultimately going to benefit you, where you could use that time in a different space. So
absolutely agree. And there seems to be a lot of carryover, a lot of comparisons between what we do in the nutrition world and the exercise world versus the financial world, right? Because it's the same thing. You look at a budget.
It's the exact same thing.
If you don't have a budget, money goes out. You start spending in places that you didn't realize you were. Right. And all of a sudden you found a couple $100 extra at the end of the month that you have left over. And the same thing happens if you can find a time. And that's one of the things that a Legacy, I think, prides itself on, is being able to offer groups around the times that the kids are there. So your kid's there for soccer practice, and I get it. I have 3 kids. I love watching them practice, but there comes a point where if I'm not coaching them, I can go be productive doing something else. Maybe I watch half their practice and get a 30-minute walk in, something along those lines. But, trying to combine the two can work really well.
I'll relate this to, you're on a plane, right? And the airline folks, they go on the announcements at the beginning, and, in case the cabin loses air pressure, the oxygen masks come down, and they always say, you must put your own mask on first before helping anyone else.
Absolutely.
Because if your mask isn't on and you pass out, you can't help your kids.
Correct.
You can't. So it's the same type of thing as far as health goes.
Yeah. I saw a great post the other day, and it said, you would die for your kids, but would you get healthy for them?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wow. That's really great.
Right. Because the kids are watching everything.
Absolutely.
They're watching everything going on. So.
Yeah. My kids spend a lot of time in the weight room, for better or worse. And we do box jumps up the stairs and pull-ups and flips on everything possible. But, they understand the benefit of it.
Sure.
So
exactly.
I think that goes a long way, like you said.
Awesome. So I think we're down to our 5th pillar already.
We're down to our 5th pillar.
Yeah.
So the 5th one, it's kind of a combination of things. Having a faith, having a sense of purpose.
Sure.
And having like-minded people around you goes a long way.
Yeah.
Right. So you think about the work that you do, being stuck in a job where you get no fulfillment out of it versus going to a job where you don't feel like you're at work because you enjoy every minute of it.
Sure.
Or most minutes of it, right? You enjoy seeing the benefits. I love seeing, somebody come in that's looking to improve their life. And it doesn't just have to be weight loss. I think it's very easy for people to hear this conversation and be like, well, if I do all these things, I'll lose weight.
Right.
And
we haven't even really talked about that.
Right. And that will potentially be a benefit long term.
Sure.
You know, but one of the many podcasts that I listen to always talk about if you go into a gym just chasing aesthetics, the way you look,
Sure,
probably never going to actually be happy with it.
yeah,
Right. But if you go in to every decision you make chasing health,
mm-hmm.
looking the way that you are going to be happy with is going to be a byproduct of that. So, just understanding that the benefits of feeling fulfilled at the end of the day go a long way.
Sure.
So for me, like I said, faith is a big deal. We have a great group of people that we meet with from our church every other week. We try to get to church as often as possible. One of the many podcasts that I listen to is or some of the other ones are faith-based or sermons from other places around the country.
Sure.
But even if that's not it, like having people around you that build you up, there's only so much time and so much energy that we have. Right. And we try to stay so connected with everybody at this point, but we know that there are people that drain our energy.
Sure.
There are people that bring us down. And it's not to say that you have to cut everybody from your life that way, but be aware of it. Be aware of the way that you feel when you're having a conversation with person X versus person Y,
Sure.
and try to be around those people that build you up instead of bring you down.
There's a saying about this that the 5 people that you spend the most time with is who you are. I think that's how it's something like that.
No, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think of a fun way to bring in the fact that we spend so much time together, but I don't have anything too terrible to say. I haven't fired you and you haven't fired me yet. So
right.
We seem to be doing all right.
Too funny. Well, anything else in regards to legacy or one of the pillars or anything there that you want to, I have a question. How about on the sleep side of things? Because I feel like professionals, and I fell into this world for a really long time. I would say until I hit my mid 40s, I always thought I'll sleep when I'm dead kind of thing, which is a terrible thought process. But when you're young and dumb, you just, you are, building a business or working, extremely hard at what you do or taking care of your family, whatever it is, you put the sleep on the back burner. And so I've really tried the last 2-3 years to focus more on the amount of sleep and getting good sleep and this and that. But any good techniques that you'd want to share with people on what they should be considering from a sleep standpoint?
Yeah. Sleep hygiene is a huge topic now. Going from temperature in the room being a little bit cooler.
Sure.
Even though I think our women will disagree with that.
I always put it on 67 and every night she complains.
Gets yelled at, right? But a little bit cooler temperature.
Sure.
Trying to be consistent with the times that you go to sleep as best possible. If you're trying to go to sleep at 9:00 one night and it's 12:30 the next, your
Sure.
body does get thrown out of whack a little bit. Cutting electronics about an hour before bed would be awesome.
Yeah.
You can do those things. Not eating right before bed. That food will, it's a process that's happening within the body. So your body's not shutting down the way that it's kind of designed to.
Sure.
So having food right before bed can interfere with sleep. And even if you do get to sleep, it's not as restful of a sleep as it could be if you, go 2 to 3 hours prior to going to bed.
Sure.
And these are all things, as I'm saying, and I'm thinking, man, I need to do some of these things better than I do, but
we're all a work in progress.
Absolutely. And it comes back to that. It's simple. It's not easy, right? It's very simple for me to sit here and say all these things.
Sure.
But then I live here, I got to rush here, and then I got to rush there this evening, so it's just being aware of as many of these things as possible and just making good decisions as often as possible.
Sure. So I did hear something actually earlier today that I thought was interesting was, not to use your overhead lights in your home. Like
Mm-hmm.
our kitchen is very bright. And as I was being told this earlier today, I thought, holy cow, I'm usually in the kitchen before I go in and I'll watch TV in our bedroom kind of a thing. I go to bed at an early time, but our kitchen is very bright. Yeah. And they say that that's like not good because your body senses that you should be awake.
Absolutely.
And so you're not bringing yourself down.
Yeah. As I hear you say that and I think about everything that goes, and I tell people this all the time, but there's very few things in this world like that we would consider technological advancements, or, that are supposed to make life more convenient for us, that are actually beneficial for our health.
Sure.
And so again, there's times when you can say, well, what about this? What about that? Yeah. But overall, right, like the more we can simplify things,
right,
the more we can just shut down before we go to bed, the more we can use natural light, all those, things, it's really helpful.
Sure. Awesome. Mike, this was amazing. Thank you.
You were excellent. I really appreciate it.
You tell me that every Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
I mean, he leaves and he does a great job every time. And I always aspire to have all of the clients look and act like Mike does.
Well, hey, Mike, thank you, Ches. Mike, thank you for being here, and very appreciative of what you do for the community, for what Legacy has provided and brought into this community, and just a great facility. So thank you, everyone, for listening in. This was Pro Concepts. And again, the phone number to reach out to us if you needed to was 810-224-5255. We'll see you next time.